Hello and welcome to a tarot reading for the month of November for Libra. And I'm just starting these tarot readings again. I did them several years ago, but I'm going to get back to it now. I'm excited to get started with it. So if you haven't already done so, please check out my introduction video on the tarot, just in general, how I read the cards, what you can expect, and my method and whatnot. And let's go ahead and get started for Libra. Okay. So typically, you'd put your fourth card in this row here, but I don't have a whole lot of room, so we're gonna put it over here. All right, so what's going on with the Libras? We have the Page of Swords in the reverse. And so this is someone who is a little bit, there's a lot of thinking going on here. And there's perhaps a little bit of, we could say, overthinking, or maybe thinking that you know things that you don't, or kind of skipping ahead, jumping to conclusions, that kind of thing. So you may be feeling some kind of way about a situation currently, and really what's happening is there are some very important factors here that you're not really aware of, or you may be preparing for eventualities or things like that, but it's not exactly set in stone. So thoughts could be betraying you a little bit here. So it may be that you're being asked to kind of step back from thinking and to feel out the situation a little bit more. So what's crossing you is the Knight of Coins in the reverse. And this is, the Knights are more matured than the Pages, so they have a little bit more of a confidence about them. Of course, in the reverse, this is going to be maybe like an overconfidence, or sort of a rash decision-making process with regards specifically to the material world. So something is... What's affecting you is you are kind of like a little bit skeptical about the path forward and everything, and it's because you feel that somebody might be a little bit careless or not paying attention to financial risks or something like that. This is a pretty tense situation mentally between you and this Knight of Coins here, or this Knight of Coins energy, where there's a lot of trepidation or fear in this situation about, or maybe not even fear, but it may have at this point evolved into a sense of like even animosity about moving forward under the influence of this Knight. And the Knight is more experienced than the Page, of course, but neither one of them is the king or queen, right? So they both have some room for improvement. So it may be that your concerns are even a little bit justified, because the Knight in this situation, he can be a little bit rash. He's not fully developed. He doesn't fully know what he's doing, but he is probably a little more qualified than you to make these decisions, and even if that just means because it's his decision to make, right, and you're just kind of chiming in on what you think should happen, because he is in the material domain and you are in the thought domain, as swords and coins. So it is a situation where your thoughts are kind of in conflict with his material or financial ability or potential, right? So what you're moving away from is the Six, and the Six is Six of Coins. And the Six of Coins is about charity, giving, having enough abundance that you feel the need to give to other people. It's also about fairness and balance, and the fact that you can't give up everything that you have, or you will, you won't have anything to give. You can't pour from an empty cup, so to speak. So you're moving away from this sort of sense of so much abundance that you can afford to kind of take risks with it or be generous with it and that kind of thing. And that may be what's kind of causing the stress of, or the tension between these two figures. What you have in your or what's moving towards you, your future, your near future, is the Six of Swords in the reverse. And Six of Swords typically represents like a difficult transition, but usually one that's necessary, or one that's a good thing to go through. Not necessarily something like a disaster, or like a death that would cause you to transition into a new form of life or something like that. This has more of an energy of something that you have to do, but you don't really want to do, right? Or it's good for you, but you're kind of you're not going to enjoy it, right? It's going to be hard. It's going to be a tough time ahead. And in the reverse, you're kind of resistant to go through this tough time. You're resistant to so in a way here, what's going on is, with any kind of endeavor, or if you're wanting to involve yourself in a project or something, it's inevitable along that way that you reach, failures, or that, there are initial iterations of things that don't really work out the way that you want them to work out, right? So it seems as though there's kind of this energy of, you want it to go kind of perfectly the first time, and you're afraid to kind of learn from mistakes, or learn from painful lessons from just going with it, or just trying something. So, and people have different strategies when it comes to this kind of thing. At my work, we focus, one of the principles of the whole organization is first time right? Whereas there are other companies, I was reading an article about SpaceX, right, where they have this principle that if you have a 51% chance of success, you test, right? And that's, different than NASA, who says failure is not an option, right? Well, if failure is not an option, a lot of times you end up spending a whole lot more trying to prepare to perfect what's going to happen. And you're kind of forsaking the fact that you learn a lot more from failures than success. It kind of gives you the jolt that you need to really snap you out of your repetitive cycles of thinking, and the idea that you might know how things are going. It can snap you out of that really quick and make you pause and take a look at how things really are, right? So failure is a very good teacher, and it's not over until it's over, right? So it's not anything to be too upset about. But what's crossing you is the Three of Swords in the reverse. I'm sorry, I said crossing you. This is your foundation card. This is what's going on in the subconscious, right? And or kind of what is the subconscious welling up of this entire situation or lesson. So the Three of Swords here is a card that typically represents a heartbreak. I mean, obviously, heartbreak. But in the reverse, this is. And so specifically, the heartbreak is generally looked at as like regret over a thought or a decision that you've taken, a path that you've taken. I think of it as kind of like a fork in the road. And anytime you go down a particular fork in the road, there's always something that was good on the other sides of the path. So we get into this idea where we think there's only one way, right? And there's only one right way to be. There's only one right path to take. But in reality, all of those paths lead you down the road of life, and all of them are a good thing, right? So if you if you're aware of how things are in the universe and the world around you, anytime you take one path, there is liable to be a little bit of maybe sadness or emotion about leaving behind another path, or regret over not being able to experience something, or just this is your thoughts kind of turning back on themselves and wishing that there was another way, or wishing something didn't happen, that kind of thing. And in the reverse, it's kind of it's weighing down on you. These thoughts are not productive for you. They're not going to serve you in a way, because what's going on is you're hesitating, or this card, welling up from your subconscious, it's blocking your intuitive ability. It's blocking your subconscious. And I see two other cards here that also indicate the same thing, of like a blocked subconscious or blocked intuition, right? So don't live your life in regret, right? You have to kind of own what happens and move forward, and that'll give you a lot more of a free-flowing and intuitive way of living, right? A more fulfilling life. And you'll find also that things are more likely to work in your favor if you live life in that way, because what happens is, as you're blocking your intuition, your subconscious, that's the part of you that's really powerful. The conscious mind, we think of that as the totality of ourselves, but it's really just a small, tiny little thing, and it's really the most insignificant part of who you are. So if you can kind of learn to silence that a little bit and to have faith and go with the flow, you open the door for your intuitive abilities, and you'll find that almost as if by magic, everything you do is a little bit more successful. And that's because your subconscious is speaking louder to you, or communicating with you in a more direct way, right? So what you have in your crowning thoughts is, or what's on your intentional mind, is the Ten of Cups. And the Ten of Cups, this is emotional fulfillment. This is happy home. You can see everything. This is a really happy situation here. They're looking at how happy they are. They're consciously happy. The kids are in the background dancing and everything. So this is in your conscious mind. You're really wanting to move toward sort of like the happily ever after, the idea that things are going to work out perfectly, and this is really, really heavy on your mind. So there's nothing in this situation that says it will or will not work out that way. But it's very obvious why you would want to move towards something like that. But I do think that it's more likely for you to move towards your goal, again, if you're able to put the negative thoughts down a little bit. You have three swords in here that are in the reverse, and then we have one more here that is in the upright, and it's in your advice card, but it's also the energy that you're bringing to this reading. And this is, this person is very distraught, very sad, or not really thinking about anything but how upset she is, right? So this is probably the energy that you're bringing to the reading rather than your advice. But what it's saying is this person is kind of trapped. Well, the 8 is more of a trapped in your own thoughts, but this one is more of your fears and your anxieties, and all of these issues are something that you're kind of doing to yourself. That there is not. You're not forced to feel anxiety. You're not forced to feel worry about things. But I have another deck where it's a cat it's a cat figure, and they're up in a tree, and they've run up the tree because they were frightened by something. Something has kind of like got them to go up in the tree. And then when they're up there in the tree, there's these little demon things that are kind of talking to it and making it even more afraid. So it's like it withdrew because it was afraid, but then it kind of marinates in this fear, and you lead to anxiety, or worrying about worry and things like that. and these issues that really are kind of in your head. So it's, and the way to cut through that anxiety, the way to let it kind of go is, first of all, you have to kind of accept it, and that's a little counterintuitive, right? But if you're worried about being worried, or if you're overthinking, then you're just perpetuating this cycle of being caught in this sort of feedback loop. So the first step is to kind of just allow those feelings to be there, right? To just say, well, it's okay that I'm worried, or it's okay that I'm feeling a certain kind of way. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you should act on those feelings, or that they're pointing you in the right direction, but it does mean that you have to kind of step back and look at them, and it's kind of valuable, I think, to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is it? What is my concern that is driving these feelings of anxiety or being worried, right? So in your current environment, you have the Four of Coins, and this is somebody who is very interested in saving, but also not really wanting there to be like a flowing out of money, or not wanting to spend. This is somebody who's kind of grasping these coins, and you can see grasping them very lovingly. So a good saver, right? But this person can be a little bit stagnant. The idea that I get is like some rich old lady who has like her most expensive fur coats, and she's just clutching it, and she doesn't really go out and use her money for obtaining experiences that bring joy, or things like that. This is more of just a clinging to that material wealth. And this is in your current environment. So around you, there's this energy of like not really letting money go, but kind of trying to hold on to it. And this could be, within your home environment. This could be in the society around you, or the people that you deal with in business dealings, that kind of thing. It doesn't really point toward you specifically, because this is your environment card. So around you, you're finding this sort of clinginess to the material, right? And it could be even just in a more general way in the society, right? Where you're thinking a lot about how it is with searching for a job, or, something like that, where people are a little too stingy, is maybe how you're seeing it, So what we have in your fears card is the moon in the reverse, and this is, I told you, a kind of a blocked intuition energy is coming from this. And the moon represents, the unknown. This is the source of your intuition, right? So if this was, in your upright in some other aspect of the reading, it would be an indication that you were following your intuition, or that you were in a sort of harmony with it. But in the reverse, this means that what you're afraid of is the unknown things that might come up to harm you. In this card, there is a dark wolf and a light wolf, but there's also this little crawfish or lobster guy who's rising up from the water, and it kind of represents like the unknown bubbling up to the surface. But the light and dark wolf represent both like positive and negative aspects, right? So there are things that come up that you like, and things that come up that you don't like, right? But this welling up of the subconscious, it's really about a fear of the unknown, right? About what might happen. And I think that's a fairly normal fear, right? That's that's kind of the basis of all fears. Even the fear of death is really a fear of what's going to happen when I die. What's if we knew exactly what was going to happen, maybe it wouldn't be so scary, right? So anyway, it's a justified fear, and it's probably a big driving force in the entire situation here. But the overall message, or the overall outcome, is the the Ace of Cups in the reverse, meaning that there is overall a resistance to opening yourself up to a sort of new emotional opportunity, or a new sense of fulfillment, right? There is just this sort of resistance to go down that road. There's a resistance to allow yourself to flow naturally with the environment around you and that kind of thing. And this is what you're headed toward in the long term as the result of the situation. But I like to say that I don't really read a person's future. I read how things are going, right? So you always have an opportunity to change things and to change direction or to change the outcome. But that's something that takes a conscious choice, right? So to make this conscious choice to move toward a place of more emotional fulfillment will be to make a conscious choice to sort of work through these anxieties or these negative thoughts that are affecting how you're being a little bit hesitant in the way that you're moving forward, right? So we're going a little long here, so I'll go ahead and cut it off there. But I thought it was a pretty contiguous and a good reading. I think that it, sometimes these can seem a little bit harsh. These readings can seem like they're telling you about the faults that you have and things like that. But in a way, I think what they do is to move you a little bit toward a path that coalesces with what you're actually trying to get out of life. But anyway, so please let me know what you thought in the comment section if you had any questions or wanted some additional clarification, and I'll try to get back to you with that. And until next time, I'll see you for December's reading. And this has been DrShiny, and thank you for watching.